In this video we'll demonstrate in real-life conditions the acceleration and stopping power of Qulbix bikes. To make this showcase as realistic as possible, we'll be using an average rider weighing in total 90 kilograms.
Okay, to je merilna oprema, merilna kartica za zajemanje podatkov. Gledamo power, ok, power on. Okay.
We'll start with an acceleration showcase of the street-legal Q140MD core electric motorbike.
Meritev pospeševanja na polno od te točke pa proti koncu, ne do končne hitrosti.
That's full throttle on smooth straight asphalt road until we reach the bike's end speed, which is in this case locked at 45 kilometers per hour. This chart shows the full throttle acceleration of the street-legal Q140MD core model. Here on the graph the x-axis stands for time, but the time is shown in minutes, which means that the 0.05 mark stands for 3 seconds. So the markers stand at 3 seconds, 6 seconds, etc. The chart shows us a strong acceleration here. There's a small overshoot visible, so a bit over the 45 kilometers per hour in this area here. Now we'll take a closer look at the time that it takes the bike to reach the end speed. If we zoom into this time area, we'll see that at 0.06 minutes or 3.6 seconds the 45 kilometers per hour mark is reached. After a little more than 3 seconds the bike reaches end speed. This is with a rider weighing approximately 90 kilograms with equipment. If we now take a look at the power and zoom out to the entire measurement, we can see that the most power is released in the beginning, and as the desired speed is reached, the power drops significantly. The bike then uses approximately 1000 watts to maintain that speed on a straight. If we look at the current, it is much the same. The most current is used in the beginning, 67 amps. And then it drops to around 10 to 13, 14 amps. When we check the voltages, we can see that the value drops just a little, from 80 to 79, and then after the speed is reached, it goes back to 81 volts. So this is a really small voltage drop.
Za polnjenje uporabljamo našo baterijo, inverter in napajalnik.
In order to compare acceleration and braking power of different setups, we'll try to recreate the exact same conditions, so the bike will be charged after every run. To charge the bike on site, we'll use one of the Qulbix batteries, an inverter, and a Qulbix charger. The charge will only take a couple of minutes to get the amps back to the same level as in previous demonstration.
Polna moč, polno pospeševanje.
Now we'll show the acceleration of the Q140MD core race model, which is open to full power. This chart shows the full throttle acceleration of the Q140MD core race model on the high settings, maximum power, full throttle acceleration. Again, we have the time in minutes on the x-axis, so that each vertical line represents a 3-second time interval. The first line stands for 3 seconds, the next for 6, 9, and so on. We'll zoom in a little. If you look at this acceleration curve, you can see that at 3 seconds the bike reaches the speed of 52 kilometers per hour. After 6 seconds it reaches 68 kilometers per hour. In about 6.5 seconds it reaches 70 kilometers per hour, and so on. This shows a very strong acceleration. As we can see on the chart, the bike achieves the street legal limit of 45 kilometers per hour in 2.4 seconds. And this is in a real-life demonstration, with a 90-kilo rider, with specific surface, wind conditions, one try only, not a laboratory test in controlled conditions setting. This is what you would get on an average ride. Here we can see the power released during this demonstration. Here we can see the current. And here the voltage. This chart clearly shows the acceleration power of the race electric bike. If you look closely at the video, you will see that at full throttle the front wheel is lifted, even if the rider leans down low. Now we'll demonstrate the stopping power of the bike and the differences in using specific types of brakes.
45 na uro bomo zavirali z vsemi zavorami. Povem, prva, zadnja in regeneracija. Vse tri zavore. Vse tri. Točka, začetek zaviranja je pri stožcih.
All Qulbix bikes have three types of brakes: double disc brake in the front, single disc brake in the rear, and the so-called REGEN, which is an electronic brake that regenerates power. Let's see how they do on the road. First off, we'll use all three brakes. When you need to stop quickly, you can use all three brakes simultaneously, and as we'll demonstrate, that stops the bike very efficiently. This chart shows the stopping power of the street-legal Q140MD core model, using all three brakes simultaneously. The same brakes are installed in the race model. The speed at which the braking began was 45 kilometers per hour, as you can see here. And the brakes were engaged here, at this moment. The speed began to drop significantly. If we take a look at the distance on the x-axis, we can see that the bike fully stopped after 20 meters. It is not so visible on the x-axis itself, but if you look here, you can see the distance data clearly. It's at 20 meters. In this case we used all three brakes, so front, rear, and the REGEN brake. Now let's show the time, in the x-axis. We can see that the time needed to fully stop the bike is around 0.05 minutes, which means that the bike stops in less than 3 seconds, from the moment all three brakes are engaged. Now we'll demonstrate the braking power of the front brake alone. It is a very powerful, double disc brake that efficiently stops the bike when needed. This chart shows the stopping power of the street-legal Q140MD core model, using only the front double disc brake. The race model has the same front brakes installed. The speed from which we began braking was approximately 45 kilometers per hour, as you can see here. And here's where the front brake was engaged and the braking begun. On the x-axis we can see the distance. So it took around 25 to 30 meters to fully stop the bike, which is 5 to 6 meters more than when using all three brakes. If we select time on the x-axis, where the 0.05 minute mark is 3 seconds, and 0.07 is approximately 4 seconds. We can see that it takes about 1 second longer to stop, using just the front brake, compared to using all three brakes. But this is still very efficient, very fast braking. Basically under 30 meters the bike has fully stopped, from 45 kilometers per hour. Now we'll see the braking power of the rear brake. It is much less efficient than the front brake, as it blocks the rear wheel. It burns through rubber quickly. This chart shows the stopping power of the street-legal Q140MD core model, using only the rear single-disc brake. We can see that when the braking was engaged, the speed was 45 kilometers per hour. The curve shows how the bike is stopping. Just after 50 meters, at about 55 meters the bike has fully stopped. If we set the x-axis to depict time, the 0.1 minute vertical line stands for 6 seconds, the 0.15 minute mark for 9 seconds, and so on. As we can see, after 12 seconds the bike stops, when only using the rear brake. As with all motorcycles, if you need to stop fast, braking only with rear brake will not be enough. That's why in emergency situations, always use the front brake or better still, all three brakes.
Sedaj pa naredimo še zaviranje samo z regeneracijsko zavoro. Torej še enkrat 45 na uro in samo z regeneracijo.
Now we'll be using the Regen brake only. This is a soft, left thumb lever operated brake. It is the most used brake on the bike, but it is not meant for fast stopping, as it is smooth instead of sharp and takes a lot of stopping distance. As anticipated, the most efficient is the double disc front brake. The second is the rear disc brake. The one that needs the most stopping distance is the Regen.
Torej, do polne ustavitve lahko vidimo, kakšno razdaljo torej prevozimo. Pri tem je potrebno povedati, da zadnja regeneracijska zavora ni namenjena hitremu ustavljanju, vendar absorbira tako veliko energije, recimo na telemetriji se bo videlo koliko kilovatov, s tem privarčujemo na zavornih ploščicah, tudi sama vožnja je bolj mirna.
This chart shows the stopping power of the street-legal Q140MD core model using only the Regen brake. The race model has the same Regen installed. As with previous braking demonstrations, here too, as the 45 km/h was reached, the brake was engaged. This line shows how the bike's speed dropped. The bike finally stopped after about 55 meters, which is still very good for solely using the Regen brake. If we turn on the power curve as well, this purple line here, we can see it is negative. This is because it shows regeneration, which is the opposite of power usage. Here we can see it reached 3 kilowatts of regeneration at some point. This was at the beginning, when the Regen lever was fully pressed and it took about 3000 watts to begin the braking process, which is quite a lot of energy, which with Regen braking is not lost, but stored. Then the regeneration slowly decreased as the bike started losing speed and momentum. If we take a look at the time, we can see that at about 0.18 minutes or 10 to 12 seconds, the bike fully stopped. This is just a little less efficient than using only the rear brake. The advantage of this brake is that the deceleration does not wear the brake pads and it does not waste the energy needed for stopping, but instead stores it to increase the bike's range.
Torej, kot smo videli, prva zavora ustvari največji pojemek. Kombinacija vseh treh pa je tista kombinacija, ki je najbolj učinkovita in tudi najbolj primerna za uporabo v prometu.
Each brake has its own advantage. The front brake stops the bike most efficiently, the rear brake is best for fast stops on off-road terrains, and the Regen brake is the softest, most variable brake that will regenerate your bike's battery. In conclusion, this demonstration has shown how responsive the Qulbix bikes really are. The immense torque that the bikes put out is paired with equally efficient stopping force.